Welcome back to Create with Lebate. We ended our last video with us creating a fashion template and using it to distinguish the figure ground relationship for our original fashion illustration. So, and you were asked to choose a character from a TV show or a movie whose wardrobe style you really admired to use as a source of inspiration for your fashion design. So today we're going to touch on how you may translate that inspiration to use into your original design. So let's get started. So I chose Liza Miller from the show Younger as a source of inspiration. So I love how her wardrobe is an emphasis in the show, and it helps to convince the other characters that she is a woman in her 20s when in fact she's really 40 years old. So I specifically chose this green tassel jacket. And so we can start by really just looking closely at what we see. So naming the design elements. I see a tassel, pom-poms, right? Some embroidery. There's that army green color, pockets, buttons, and a peplum. So I'm going to use those design elements as I start to sketch out my ideas. So my template is already created. My outline is already created. I'm definitely going to refer back to the magazine illustration. So before I can design the clothing, I really want to distinguish her figure, right? So I'll start to distinguish her head and her shoulders and her neck area, so that way I can really start emphasizing the collar of the design and the clothes building off from there. So looking at my figure that I chose, I can see that her head is definitely tilted, right? So just gonna start off with that shape. Defining the neck, defining the shoulders, holding the straps of her blouse. So her elbows and her arms are angled in an interesting pose. So I can look at my outline and determine where those elbows begin. And I'm not going in for detail right now at all. Really, I'm just focusing on getting just a general outline of the head, right, to sort of see where they'll definitely emphasize being of youth, a much more youthful age than she is. Lots of pattern happening, but also that neutral, that green army jacket is really, really fun. I love the tassels, so that's definitely going to be a design element that I want to emphasize. She's wearing like a t-shirt underneath the jacket. Alright, so what I'm working at now is like a rough sketch of translating some of those design elements that we saw earlier. So the tassels placement, I have them at this sort of peekaboo shoulder, right? So the shoulder's revealed and you can see that the jacket has that peekaboo shoulder. She's going to be wearing just like a shift dress underneath, but I placed the tassels right at the seam closest to the neckline, and then that open shoulder. There's some tassels on the pocket flap, and then right now I have some tassels on the hem of the jacket. So really I'm going to work in those embroidery elements into the dress. So the dress will really be that graphic, geometric embroidery detail that I was so inspired by. And then of course I'm definitely going to keep the jacket that army green color. Definitely want to use multiple shades of green. So you always want to work light to dark. So I'm going to put down my lightest green first and serve as my highlights on the jacket. So I have my lightest layer down for this jacket, just areas, not every area, leaving some highlights. Now I'm going to step up my intensity. I'm also definitely going to look at my reference photo to see where are the shadows, where are the values that I can use as I create my own. So applying that darker green value, in most cases right on top of the lighter green. I'm going to let that gray dry, go in for some flesh tone. Dry, I really only did the flesh tones in the hands, the neck, and just that peekaboo shoulder area. I'm going to define the legs and draw some boots on there and her face at a later time. Right now I'm going to let the flesh tone dry. Now I'm going to go over with an even darker value. Having the darker values. And again, the white, leaving the paper revealed really emphasizes that whiter value, or that highlight that we need to create that value depth behind the tassels to kind of give it that. Working in some of that geometric embroidery pattern inspired detail on the shift dress underneath the jacket. Ink pens are really going to be useful to me when I go in for detail. So I'm definitely at that point now where I can go in for some detail even on the tassels, even though I used gray and I used a black marker. I'm still going to go on over it with a black pen. Going in with some ink pen. Seeing more of those gestural lines. Really just those ink pens so go a long way when you're wanting to really define more intricacies and textures. So this is where we keep going and developing our ideas. This is a different version, but this was my first attempt at transferring inspiration from a TV character or character from a movie. And so, you know, it's different, but I wanted to show you a finished piece and then some work in progress alongside you. So keep it up, keep working. I'm definitely going to include some tutorials on facial features and keep working those illustrations. I'm looking forward to seeing your work too. So please email your finished illustration or your work in progress if you want some feedback at createwithlabate@gmail.com. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.